Imagine waking up every day with a mind that's calm, focused, and fully in control, not swayed by distractions, not rattled by the chaos around you, and completely aligned with your deepest purpose. It sounds almost superhuman, doesn't it? But here's the truth. This isn't just reserved for ancient philosophers or extraordinary people. This is something you can cultivate, starting today. What if I told you that the power to master your emotions, stay disciplined, and find peace amidst the storm has been around for centuries? Stoicism holds the key to unlocking a life of true self-discipline and inner strength. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they weren't born with superpowers. They simply learned to control their minds and harness the power of self-discipline. In a world filled with distractions, stress, and endless noise, it's easy to feel like life is controlling you. But what if you could change that? What if you could take back control over your thoughts, your actions, and your responses? Stoicism offers profound lessons on how to do just that. These principles aren't just ancient wisdom, they're practical tools for living a more disciplined, meaningful life today. And the best part? They don't require you to be perfect, just intentional and persistent. So if you're ready to dive deep into the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy and transform how you approach self-discipline, consider subscribing. It's a step toward mastering your mind, embracing your full potential, and living a life grounded in purpose and resilience. Let's get started. 1. Find your purpose. How often do you find yourself wondering why you're even doing what you're doing? That feeling of being lost or aimless, caught in a whirlwind of distractions, responsibilities, and expectations, can leave you feeling exhausted and unfulfilled. It's like trying to run a race without knowing where the finish line is. You put in the effort, but you're not really going anywhere. Imagine, though, if you woke up each day with a crystal-clear sense of purpose, a deep understanding of what truly matters to you and why it's worth your energy and time. That clarity would transform your daily actions, wouldn't it? It would sharpen your focus and, in turn, fuel your self-discipline. But getting there requires you to confront one essential question: what is your purpose? Now, I know this isn't a question that's always easy to answer. In fact, it's one of the most challenging yet liberating questions you can ask yourself. But think about it for a moment. If you had a clear sense of purpose, wouldn't it be easier to say no to distractions? Wouldn't it help you push through those tough days when your mind tries to convince you that giving up is easier than staying on track? Marcus Aurelius spent years honing his mind and spirit through his understanding of his purpose. His words echo across centuries. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, knowing your purpose allows you to navigate obstacles with determination because you have a reason for pushing forward. Purpose isn't just about lofty ideals. It's not about finding some grand cosmic calling. It's about finding what drives you, what matters to you on a deep personal level. When we connect to our why, everything else falls into place. The challenges, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, they don't overwhelm us because we know we're moving towards something bigger than the struggle. It gives us the strength to persevere. Now you might be thinking, that sounds nice, but how do I actually find my purpose? Well, it starts with taking some time to reflect. Don't rush this process. Take 10 minutes tonight, after a long day, and write down what really matters to you. What are the things that light a fire inside you? What are the values that guide your decisions? These aren't just fleeting interests or what others expect from you. They are the core of who you are. For some, it might be helping others. For others, it could be creating something meaningful, or maybe it's simply living with integrity and authenticity. The point is to dig deeper than the surface level. If you only look at what's on the surface, you'll miss the richness that lies beneath. Once you've found your purpose, your direction becomes so much clearer. When you know why you're doing something, the road ahead feels less uncertain. When distractions creep in, whether it's the allure of a quick escape through social media or the temptation to procrastinate, you can hold firm and say, "No, this doesn't align with my purpose." Think of your purpose as an anchor. When the storm of distractions comes, it's your anchor that keeps you grounded. It's the thing that allows you to stand firm in a world that constantly pulls you in different directions. As the Stoics would say, life is unpredictable, but your purpose gives you a way to navigate it. In the words of Carl Jung, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. In many ways, this quote encapsulates what it means to discover your purpose. It's about aligning your actions with your true self, not who the world tells you to be or who you think you should be, but who you are at your core. Finding your purpose is the first step towards self-mastery, and once you're clear on that, you begin to take control of your life in ways that others who are lost in distraction can't even begin to imagine. Self-discipline flows from this clarity. When your purpose is clear, it's easier to commit to the actions that support it. You won't feel as tempted to give in to fleeting pleasures that ultimately don't serve you. In fact, as you stay aligned with your purpose, you'll find that your desires begin to shift. The need for immediate gratification loses its appeal, and instead, the satisfaction of living in line with your values becomes the real reward. Take a moment and ask yourself, what do I want my life to represent? The answer doesn't need to be monumental. It can be as simple as wanting to be a good friend or pursuing a passion that gives you joy. But once you identify that purpose, it will fuel your self-discipline and guide you through each day. It will help you reject distractions and align your actions with something greater than the temporary desires of the moment. This is the secret of self-discipline. It's not about willpower alone. It's about clarity of purpose and living with intention. Every day, you have the power to shape your life. By finding your purpose and using it as your guiding light, you take the first step toward building the self-discipline you need to achieve your goals. Remember, Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The more you connect to your purpose, the more you'll realize that nothing is out of your control. You have the strength to choose your path, and once you know your purpose, every step you take is intentional, grounded in something bigger than yourself. So here's the challenge. Tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself what truly matters to you. Write it down. Then, in the morning, take that list and keep it with you. Let it be your compass for the day. Every time you feel distracted or unsure, ask yourself, does this align with my purpose? If it does, go for it. If not, let it go. Over time, this practice will sharpen your focus, strengthen your resolve, and ultimately lead you to a life of greater self-discipline and fulfillment. Your purpose will be the foundation upon which everything else rests. 2. Control what you can, let go of the rest. It's easy to get caught up in the chaos of life, isn't it? The constant stream of information, the distractions, the opinions of others. There's always something demanding your attention, and it can feel like you're constantly swimming upstream, trying to keep your head above water, but the current is relentless. You might find yourself frustrated by things that are completely beyond your control, like the traffic on your morning commute, the weather ruining your plans, or the judgments of others that linger in your mind long after a conversation ends. We all do it. We waste energy on things that don't matter, things we can't change. But here's the hard truth. The more you focus on what's outside your control, the less energy you have for the things that really matter. In Stoic philosophy, there's a powerful lesson that can completely change the way you approach life. Focus only on what you can control. It's such a simple idea, yet so difficult to practice. But when you begin to internalize it, you realize just how liberating it can be. Think about it. There's so much in life that's outside your control, like how other people act, the global events that unfold every day, or even the weather. These things can feel overwhelming, like you're constantly fighting against the tide. But here's the key. You don't have to fight them. You don't need to waste your time and energy on things that you cannot change. Instead, turn inward. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your reactions, your mindset. When you stop wasting energy on the things outside your control, you free up that energy to focus on what truly matters, how you respond to situations, how you act in the face of adversity, and how you can improve yourself every single day. Let's look at an everyday example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Your frustration builds up as the minutes tick by, and it feels like you're wasting your time, right? But in that moment, you have a choice. You can let the frustration consume you, or you can choose to let it go. You can't change the traffic, but you can control how you react. You can choose to turn that time into something productive. Maybe you listen to a podcast that helps you grow, or simply take a few deep breaths and practice mindfulness. When you focus on your reaction, you reclaim your power. Suddenly, you're no longer at the mercy of the situation. You've taken control. This is where the wisdom of Western psychology comes into play. Carl Jung believed in the importance of self-awareness and self-control. He said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This idea of choice is central to Stoicism. You can't control what happens to you, but you have full control over how you respond to it. In fact, Jung believed that true growth happens when we become conscious of the things we can control and actively choose to grow in those areas. And in the context of Stoicism, that means choosing to focus on your thoughts, your actions, and your responses, rather than becoming tangled in the noise of things outside your control. So how do you actually put this into practice? It starts with awareness. The next time you're frustrated by something, whether it's a delay, an argument, or a setback, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then let it go. There's no point in holding on to frustration, worry, or resentment over things you can't change. Instead, focus your energy on what you can control. Take a moment to breathe, refocus, and redirect your attention toward the actions and decisions that are within your power. Another key aspect of this principle is recognizing how much energy you spend worrying about things outside your control. Have you ever found yourself obsessing over things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't really matter? Whether it's what someone else thinks of you or stressing over a mistake you made at work, it's easy to let these worries drain you. But when you learn to recognize what's in your control and what isn't, you start to reclaim your energy. You stop giving away your power to things that don't deserve it. Instead, you focus on what you can change, your mindset, your actions, and your responses. This is not just about reducing stress, although that's a big benefit. It's about living a more intentional life. When you stop letting external circumstances dictate your inner state, you start to build resilience. You begin to develop the mental fortitude to handle life's challenges with grace and poise. Instead of reacting impulsively to every little inconvenience, you respond thoughtfully and with purpose. And that's where true self-discipline comes from, learning to control your mind and emotions in a world that constantly tries to pull you in different directions. In the Stoic tradition, one of the most important practices is the idea of dichotomy of control. It's the belief that we should divide everything that happens in life into two categories: what we can control and what we cannot. Everything falls into one of these two categories. You can't control the actions of others, but you can control how you respond to them. You can't control the weather, but you can control how you plan for it. The more you practice this dichotomy, the clearer your life becomes. You stop spinning your wheels on things that don't matter, and you start focusing on the actions that align with your values and goals. The beauty of this practice is that it's not about removing yourself from life's difficulties. It's about engaging with life from a place of control. You're not avoiding challenges, but you're choosing how to face them. You can't control everything that comes your way, but you can control how you approach each situation. That's where your true strength lies. In the grand scheme of life, most things are outside our control. The opinions of others, the uncertainty of the future, the circumstances that come our way, these things are all beyond our grasp. But your response to them, that's yours. This is the core of Stoic philosophy. What matters most is how we choose to respond to what life throws at us. You have the power to decide how you will react. You have the power to choose how you will direct your energy. And that's a powerful realization. So the next time you find yourself stuck in traffic or dealing with a frustrating situation, remember this: is this in my control? If the answer is no, let it go. Stop giving away your power to things that don't serve you. Instead, focus on what you can change: your actions, your mindset, and your responses. When you make this practice a habit, you'll find that you spend less time stressed, anxious, or upset. You'll find that you're more focused, more calm, and more disciplined in everything you do. In the end, self-discipline is about knowing where to place your energy. It's about being intentional with your thoughts and actions. And when you focus on what you can control, you begin to cultivate a life of purpose, clarity, and resilience. 3. Show up every day. Consistency is king. Let's face it, life is full of distractions, and some days showing up for yourself feels like the hardest thing to do. Maybe you had a late night, or you're feeling unmotivated, or there's just so much going on in the world that it's hard to focus on anything. We've all been there. But here's the thing: consistency is the real game changer. It's not about doing something once in a while, or only when it feels convenient. Real progress comes from showing up every single day, even when you're not feeling it. It's the small, seemingly insignificant actions that accumulate over time and eventually lead to the big breakthroughs. This is where true self-discipline lies. It's in the commitment to the everyday grind, the willingness to put in the work even when no one's watching or applauding. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this. He didn't wait for the perfect moment to practice his discipline. He showed up every day. He lived the Stoic ideal that life isn't about the grand gestures or spectacular achievements. It's about the little things, the daily habits, the consistent effort. As he wrote in his meditations, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. In a way, this can be extended to the quality of your actions. Each day you show up, you're choosing to align your thoughts with your actions, reinforcing your commitment to your goals. But here's the catch: it's not about waiting for motivation to strike. Consistency doesn't rely on how you feel in the moment. It's about deciding every single day that you're going to show up, regardless of how tired or unmotivated you might feel. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to build muscle. Now, you can't expect to get stronger if you only work out once a week. The results won't come. You won't see any progress. It's only through daily consistent effort that you start to see real change. And it's the same with self-discipline. It's not about pushing yourself to do everything perfectly or overexerting yourself for a day. It's about showing up consistently, doing the work, and allowing time to do the heavy lifting. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't look for shortcuts. They focused on the process, not the outcome. It wasn't about waiting for things to fall into place. It was about getting up and doing what needed to be done, no matter the circumstances. The real reward isn't just in the final achievement. It's in the process of becoming who you are meant to be through consistent effort. Showing up every day doesn't just shape your habits, it shapes your character. It's about showing up for the person you want to become, even when that person isn't fully realized yet. In other words, your daily actions are a reflection of your potential. Each time you push through the resistance, each time you make the choice to show up despite not feeling like it, you're stepping into the life you want to create. And over time, that consistency compounds into something powerful. But let's be real. There will be days when showing up feels impossible. There will be days when your energy is low, when distractions seem to multiply, and when you just don't want to do the work. And that's okay. The point isn't to be perfect. The point is to keep going, to keep showing up, even on the tough days. It's on those days when you least feel like it that your consistency becomes the most important. It's on those days that you prove to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your resistance. You build mental toughness through these moments. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That reaction, that choice to show up anyway, is where you strengthen your resolve. It's easy to think of success as something that happens all at once, a big breakthrough, a single moment that defines everything. But in reality, success is made up of hundreds, if not thousands, of small, consistent actions. These little decisions, these small efforts, are the things that build momentum. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't see the tree sprout immediately. You don't see the growth right away. But over time, with consistent care and attention, that tree begins to grow. Similarly, your daily actions are the seeds of your future success. And while it might feel like you're not getting anywhere in the moment, every time you show up, you're laying the groundwork for the future you want to create. When you embrace consistency, you realize that discipline is less about willpower and more about habit. Willpower can only take you so far. It's finite, but habits are sustainable. Once something becomes a habit, it's no longer a question of motivation. It's just part of who you are. And that's the power of showing up every day. It turns what feels difficult into something automatic. It shifts the narrative from "I have to do this" to "I get to do this." When something becomes a habit, it stops feeling like a chore. It becomes part of your identity. The key is to keep showing up, even when it's hard, because eventually consistency breeds mastery. Here's where Stoicism can offer a valuable perspective. In Stoic philosophy, the idea of virtue is central. Virtue isn't just something you aspire to, it's something you practice every day. It's not about being virtuous one day and forgetting about it the next. It's about making virtue a daily habit. Similarly, self-discipline isn't something that comes naturally for most people. It's not something that just appears in a moment of inspiration. It's something you cultivate through consistent, daily effort. In a way, the Stoic practice of virtue and the practice of self-discipline are one and the same. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become disciplined. You become disciplined by making it a part of your routine, by showing up every day, regardless of external circumstances. But what happens if you don't show up? What happens if you allow yourself to get distracted or give up when things get tough? The truth is, progress stalls, your growth stagnates. And while this may feel uncomfortable in the moment, it's an important lesson. Each time you don't show up, you're reinforcing a habit of avoidance, a habit of giving in to resistance. Over time, this becomes your default behavior. But the opposite is also true. Every time you show up, no matter how small the action, you reinforce a habit of persistence. This is how you build discipline over time. Think about someone who's achieved something truly remarkable. It wasn't a single event that got them there. It was the years of showing up, the countless hours spent working quietly, refining their skills, improving their craft. They didn't wait for motivation to strike. They created their own motivation by showing up every day. Whether it was a world-class athlete, a successful entrepreneur, or someone who has mastered their own craft, they all share one thing in common. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions. They showed up, even when it was hard. And you can do the same. The most successful people aren't necessarily the ones who are the most talented, or the ones who have the most resources. They're the ones who are willing to show up, day in and day out, regardless of how they feel. So if you want to level up, if you want to improve, it's simple. Show up. Commit to the process, not the outcome. Trust that the little things will add up over time. And even on those days when it feels impossible, remember this. Showing up is where the magic happens. The true power of self-discipline lies not in rare bursts of motivation, but in the daily decision to keep going, even when it's hard. Keep showing up, and you'll be amazed at how far it takes you. 4. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Life is full of discomfort. Whether it's the small annoyances that irritate you every day or the big life-changing challenges that knock you off balance, discomfort is inevitable. But what if I told you that discomfort could be one of your greatest teachers? Imagine, instead of running from discomfort or avoiding it, you intentionally sought it out. Sounds strange, right? Why would anyone want to make their life harder on purpose? But here's the thing. Voluntary discomfort can be a powerful tool for personal growth. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about training your mind and building the resilience needed to face the unpredictable nature of life. The Stoics understood this very well, and their teachings can help us embrace discomfort as a means of preparing ourselves for what lies ahead. You might be wondering, why would I intentionally put myself in situations that make me uncomfortable? The answer lies in the core Stoic principle of practicing virtue through adversity. Stoicism teaches that we grow strongest through hardship, not comfort. It's easy to be comfortable and content when everything is going your way. But what happens when life throws you a curveball? What happens when things don't go according to plan? This is where the Stoics shine. They recognize that the more we voluntarily experience discomfort, the better we become at handling the inevitable struggles of life. It's like building muscle. Without resistance, there is no strength. Without discomfort, there is no growth. Think about this. Every time you choose to do something difficult, whether it's waking up early when you'd rather stay in bed, skipping that extra dessert you crave, or taking a cold shower to test your resolve, you're practicing resilience. You're training your mind to handle discomfort without letting it derail you. The more you voluntarily embrace discomfort, the less the challenges of life will knock you down when they inevitably come. It's about building a mental fortress that can withstand any storm. When the unexpected happens, you won't be caught off guard because you've already faced discomfort head-on. You'll be better prepared, both mentally and emotionally. Carl Jung had a profound insight on this. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. This quote speaks to the heart of voluntary discomfort. We are not defined by the challenges we face, but by how we respond to them. If we choose to shy away from discomfort, we limit our growth. But if we choose to lean into it, we build the mental toughness necessary for a fulfilled and resilient life. Every time you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, you're choosing to become a stronger version of yourself. Now, You might be thinking, but why would I want to suffer? The reality is, we often confuse discomfort with suffering. In truth, discomfort doesn't have to be painful or unbearable. It can be as simple as doing something that feels slightly out of your normal routine. It's about taking small steps toward discomfort so that you can grow stronger. For example, waking up 30 minutes earlier than usual to work on a personal goal might feel uncomfortable at first, but over time it becomes a habit that strengthens your discipline. Skipping that extra serving of dessert might feel like a sacrifice, but it teaches you restraint and control. These little acts of discomfort add up over time, making you more resilient and mentally tough. Think about how discomfort builds resilience in the physical world. Athletes train their bodies by pushing themselves beyond their limits, knowing that this stress will make them stronger in the long run. The same principle applies to mental and emotional endurance. Life is unpredictable, and you can't always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. Voluntarily choosing discomfort teaches your mind to handle stress and adversity with grace and calm. It's not about avoiding pain or hardship, but about learning to thrive through it. The more you expose yourself to discomfort in small ways, the more equipped you'll be to face the bigger challenges that come your way. One of the most powerful lessons from Stoicism is that true strength doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from facing it head-on. It's not about running from it or trying to shield yourself from life's inevitable struggles. It's about training yourself to handle discomfort with equanimity, to remain calm and focused even when life doesn't go as planned. This is the essence of mental toughness. You see, voluntary discomfort isn't just about physical challenges. It's about expanding your comfort zone. It's about learning to stay composed in situations where most people would crack under pressure. Imagine having the mental strength to stay calm in the face of a tough conversation, a difficult task, or even a personal setback. That's what Stoicism teaches us, to remain steadfast and unshaken, no matter the external circumstances. And the more you practice discomfort, the more naturally this ability becomes part of your character. When you embrace discomfort, you also begin to cultivate gratitude. Think about it. When you challenge yourself and go through something tough, whether it's an early morning workout or a difficult task at work, you start to appreciate the things that are easy. Simple comforts, like a warm cup of coffee or an evening of relaxation, start to feel like luxuries. And when you begin to appreciate the little things, you build a deeper sense of contentment and fulfillment. Discomfort, in this way, teaches you to savor the moments of ease and enjoy the peace that follows after a hard day's work. In addition to building resilience, voluntary discomfort also strengthens your sense of control. Many people are afraid of discomfort because they feel like it's something that's being imposed on them. But when you actively choose discomfort, you regain a sense of power. You are no longer at the mercy of life's random hardships. Instead, you're taking the reins and choosing to challenge yourself for the sake of your growth. This is incredibly empowering. You are making a conscious choice to face difficulty head-on, not as a victim, but as someone who is in control of their own development. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. They didn't see adversity as something to be feared or avoided. They saw it as an opportunity to practice virtue. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, often reflected on how he could make the best of the challenges he faced. He didn't shy away from difficulty. Instead, he saw each hardship as an opportunity to practice resilience, wisdom, and courage. He understood that life's challenges were inevitable, but how he responded to them was entirely up to him. And this mindset is what allowed him to remain calm and focused, even during the most difficult times. As you begin to embrace discomfort, you'll start to notice that it gets easier over time. At first, it might feel awkward or uncomfortable, You might resist the urge to take cold showers, wake up early, or push through a tough situation. But as you continue to challenge yourself, you'll build mental and emotional strength. Over time, what once felt difficult will become second nature. Your comfort zone will expand, and you'll be able to face even bigger challenges with confidence. So the next time you encounter discomfort, instead of running from it, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Recognize that discomfort is an opportunity to grow, to become stronger, and to build resilience. It's a sign that you're stretching yourself and stepping outside your comfort zone. And when you make a habit of choosing discomfort, you'll begin to realize that life's challenges don't have to hold you back. They can propel you forward. Embrace discomfort, and you'll find that you have the strength to face anything that comes your way. 5. Count on yourself. When life gets tough, who do you turn to? The truth is, at the end of the day, the person you rely on the most is yourself. Sure, friends, family, and colleagues can offer support, but the foundation of your strength lies within you. It's not about rejecting help from others. It's about owning your actions and responsibilities. It's about learning to trust in your abilities and having confidence in the choices you make. So, when you face challenges, big or small, ask yourself, how can I count on myself to handle this? And the more you start to answer that question, the stronger, more resilient, and more self-disciplined you become. Think of the Stoic philosophy, an ancient framework that emphasizes personal responsibility and self-reliance. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, practiced this principle daily. In his meditations, he reminds us that we are in control of our own actions. This isn't about being arrogant or rejecting help. It's about recognizing that at the end of the day, we are the ones who shape our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. When you realize this, you stop being a passive observer in your life and start actively engaging with it. You begin to realize that you have the power to change your circumstances, not by controlling everything around you, but by controlling yourself. This idea of self-reliance is more than just a catchy phrase. It's a fundamental truth that can transform your life. When you take full responsibility for your actions, you stop waiting for others to validate you, guide you, or solve your problems. You become the one who decides how to respond to life's challenges. When you rely on yourself, you stop being a victim of circumstance, and instead, you become the architect of your life. It's empowering, it's liberating. It's like finding your own inner compass, one that always points toward personal accountability and inner strength. We all have the potential to shape ourselves, but we must first take responsibility for our own development. We can't rely on others to build our character for us. That responsibility falls squarely on our shoulders. And once you embrace this idea that your life, your actions, and your progress depend on you, the path forward becomes clearer. Every decision you make, every action you take, becomes a building block of your future. When you start counting on yourself, you begin to carve out the life you want, not the one others expect of you. But how do you begin to truly rely on yourself? It starts with small, consistent actions. You don't need to make drastic changes overnight. In fact, trying to do too much at once can be overwhelming. Instead, start small and build gradually. For example, make a commitment to yourself to wake up just 15 minutes earlier every day. At first, it will feel challenging, but as you consistently follow through, you'll start to see the rewards of your self-discipline. Maybe it's not about waking up earlier for everyone else, but for you. It's about setting a small goal and showing up for it every day. And with each small success, your confidence will grow. One of the most powerful aspects of relying on yourself is the confidence that comes with it. The more you trust yourself to handle the ups and downs of life, the more you build an internal reservoir of self-belief. Think about a time when you've successfully managed something on your own. Maybe it was a project at work, a personal goal you reached, or a difficult situation you navigated. That feeling of accomplishment is what you build on when you choose to rely on yourself. The more you show up for yourself, the more you reinforce your ability to handle what life throws your way. In time, relying on yourself won't feel like a challenge. It will feel like second nature. The Stoics were masters of self-reliance, and one of the core principles of Stoicism is the idea that we should focus only on what is within our control. While you can't control the actions of others or the circumstances around you, you can control how you respond. You can control the effort you put into something, your commitment to your own growth, and your ability to stay grounded even when things get tough. When you start taking responsibility for your actions and reactions, you stop handing over your power to external forces. And that, in itself, is the first step toward building true inner strength. You stop waiting for permission from others, and you stop asking for validation. You realize that you are the one who sets the course for your life. In this process, you'll begin to see that self-reliance doesn't mean isolating yourself or rejecting support. It means knowing when to ask for help, but also recognizing when you can solve a problem on your own. It's about balancing independence with interdependence. In fact, true self-reliance can empower you to build deeper, more meaningful relationships because you no longer depend on others for validation or approval. You learn to trust yourself first, and this trust radiates outward, making you more confident in your interactions with others. One way to build this trust is by setting small promises to yourself and keeping them. Promises like, "I will go for a walk every day this week," or "I will finish this task by the end of the day." These small commitments don't have to be grand. They just need to be consistent. And when you keep these promises, you send a clear message to yourself. I am someone who can be relied upon. You're teaching yourself that you can trust yourself to show up. And trust is the foundation of self-reliance. Without it, it's easy to get lost in self-doubt and uncertainty. But with it, you start to gain the confidence needed to face life's challenges head-on. At the same time, it's essential to recognize that self-reliance doesn't mean doing everything alone. It's not about being self-sufficient in every area of life. There will always be times when you need support or guidance. That's perfectly normal. But what self-reliance teaches you is that your first source of strength comes from within. It's about knowing that you can handle what comes your way, even when you're faced with uncertainty. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In the same way, self-reliance doesn't mean wanting or needing less. It means understanding that you have the power to navigate the challenges of life, regardless of how big or small they may be. As you begin to rely more on yourself, you'll find that the world feels less overwhelming. Instead of feeling like you're constantly at the mercy of external circumstances, you'll realize that your power lies in your ability to control your own actions. You begin to take ownership of your life rather than waiting for others or outside events to dictate your happiness or success. This shift in mindset is incredibly freeing because it puts you back in the driver's seat. And when you're in control of your actions, you become the person who shapes your own destiny. In the long run, counting on yourself leads to greater self-discipline, stronger confidence, and a deep sense of personal responsibility. It's not about being perfect. It's about making the commitment to yourself every day that you will show up and do your best. You might stumble along the way, but that's part of the process. The important thing is that you keep going, and with each step, you'll find that your self-reliance becomes your greatest asset. You'll no longer need to look outside yourself for validation because you'll have built the trust and confidence to know that you can handle whatever comes your way. When you rely on yourself, you'll discover a strength and resilience you never knew you had. 6. Stop seeking approval. Your validation comes from within. It's natural to want validation from others. We all want to feel seen, heard, and accepted, and there's nothing wrong with seeking approval from time to time. But what happens when seeking approval becomes a habit? When your decisions, big or small, start to hinge on what others think of you. You may feel like you're constantly chasing something just out of reach, a sense of worth that's always dependent on the next compliment, the next like, the next affirmation. This can become a vicious cycle that erodes your sense of self and leaves you feeling uncertain about your own choices. You've probably been there before, trying to meet expectations, fit into a mold, or make others happy at the cost of your own peace and integrity. But here's the harsh truth. The more you seek approval from others, the more you lose touch with who you truly are and what you truly want. The Stoic philosophers understood this all too well. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most respected Stoic thinkers, warned against being overly concerned with other people's opinions. In his Meditations he writes, "Don't waste time on what others are doing or saying. Don't let their actions distract you from doing what you need to do." For the Stoics, true self-discipline comes from an internal locus of control. In other words, when you rely on yourself for validation, when you stop waiting for others to tell you that you're doing the right thing, that's when you truly start to live a disciplined life. You stop letting the world dictate your happiness, your worth, and your decisions. Instead, you become the author of your own story, making decisions based on your values, not on the fear of disappointing others or seeking their approval. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking external validation, especially in a world that constantly bombards us with opinions, judgments, and comparisons. Social media makes it worse, where every post seems to need likes and comments to feel worthy. But this is a dangerous game. You can't build a solid foundation for your life if you're constantly looking for validation from others. This kind of reliance on external feedback will always leave you feeling unstable and unfulfilled. Imagine trying to build a house on shifting sand. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in, it will eventually collapse. Similarly, basing your worth on the opinions of others leaves you vulnerable to every gust of wind, every passing criticism, every fleeting judgment. In Stoicism, the idea of focusing on what's within your control is a core principle. You can't control how others perceive you, and you certainly can't control what they think of your choices. What you can control, however, is how you respond. You can control whether you choose to live according to your own values, or whether you let the opinions of others steer the course of your life. We have the power to choose our reactions, and this includes the decision to stop seeking validation from people who don't share our values or understand our journey. Think about it. When was the last time you made a decision just to please someone else? Maybe you took on a task that didn't align with your goals, or you agreed to something that didn't sit right with you, simply because you didn't want to disappoint someone. It might have felt good in the moment, but did it make you feel truly fulfilled? Probably not. That's the problem with seeking approval. It might offer a temporary sense of validation, but it doesn't provide the lasting satisfaction that comes from living according to your own values and principles. When you stop seeking approval from others, you start to live authentically. You start making decisions based on what feels right for you, not what others expect of you. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people or their opinions. It just means that you stop letting their approval define your worth. As Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. When you accept yourself completely, you stop seeking approval from others. You begin to trust that your choices are valid, even if they don't align with what others think or want. This is the path to true self-discipline, the discipline that comes from within, from understanding who you are and what you stand for. One of the best ways to break free from the need for external validation is to start making decisions based on your core values. The next time you're faced with a choice, ask yourself, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this to please someone else? This simple question can help you filter out the noise and bring you back to what truly matters. It can help you focus on what you can control, your actions, your integrity, and your commitment to your own path. When you start living in alignment with your values, you'll find that your confidence grows. You'll no longer be swayed by the opinions of others because you'll know that the decisions you're making are in line with who you truly are. It's important to note that this doesn't mean you should become indifferent to the opinions of others entirely. We all need feedback, and constructive criticism can help us grow. But the difference is in the reliance on external approval. When you rely on others to tell you that you're on the right track, you give them power over your own life. Instead, focus on the internal compass that comes from knowing yourself and living authentically. You'll find that when you're aligned with your values, the opinions of others matter less. You'll be less likely to seek validation because you'll already know that you're doing the right thing for you. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. We're wired to seek approval because it makes us feel accepted, loved, and safe. But the truth is, constantly seeking approval from others weakens your sense of self. It prevents you from fully stepping into your own power and embracing your true potential. When you stop looking to others for validation, you'll feel a new sense of freedom. You'll feel more in control of your own life. And the best part? The more you embrace this freedom, the more disciplined and self-assured you'll become. This doesn't mean that you'll never face criticism again or that others won't judge your decisions. What it means is that you'll stop letting those judgments affect your sense of worth. You'll be able to hear criticism without internalizing it. You'll be able to make choices based on your principles, not based on fear of what others might think. The more you trust yourself and your values, the more resilient you become. You'll stop doubting your decisions and second-guessing yourself. Instead, you'll make decisions with confidence, knowing that you're living in alignment with who you truly are. As you practice this, you'll find that your sense of self-discipline deepens. You won't need to rely on external motivation to get things done because your internal drive, rooted in your values and self-respect, will be enough. This is the kind of self-discipline that comes from within, and it's the kind that truly transforms your life. When you stop seeking approval from others and start validating yourself, you'll unlock a level of strength and confidence you never knew you had. So, take a moment and reflect on your life. How often do you make decisions based on what others think? How often do you seek validation, even at the cost of your own happiness or integrity? The next time you face a choice, ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for someone else? By answering that question honestly, you'll begin to steer your life in the direction of true self-discipline and self-respect. When you stop seeking external validation, you'll discover that the approval you've been looking for was inside you all along, and that is where real, lasting self-discipline begins. 7. Focus on the present. We often hear people say, the past is behind you, the future is ahead of you, but the present is a gift. It sounds nice, doesn't it? But how many of us truly live like that? How many of us are fully present in the moment, not distracted by past regrets or anxieties about the future? The reality is, it's so easy to get caught up in either the mistakes we've made or the things we hope to achieve. And while those things are important, they're not where your focus should be if you want to cultivate true self-discipline. The present moment is where your power lies. Right now, as you're reading this, is the only time you have any control over. The past is gone, and the future is still a mystery. So, what can you do today? How can you make today count? It's in this very moment that real change begins. Marcus Aurelius was all too aware of the tendency to get distracted by what's behind us or ahead of us. He understood that the only time we can truly control is the present. Aurelius knew that to be truly disciplined, you must focus on the task at hand, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem. The practice of being present, of fully engaging with what you are doing in the moment, is where the magic happens. It is through this consistent focus on the present that self-discipline grows and flourishes. When you think about it, we spend so much of our time either dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. How many times have you replayed a conversation or event from the past, wishing you had done something differently? How often do you catch yourself stressing about what might happen tomorrow, next week, or next year? While it's important to learn from the past and plan for the future, when you allow yourself to be consumed by them, you lose sight of what you can control right now. In doing so, you waste valuable energy. Your mind becomes a tug-of-war between what's already been and what's yet to come. And in that struggle, you miss the opportunity to act today. This is where self-discipline becomes crucial. Self-discipline isn't about pushing yourself hard every minute of the day. It's about being present and committed to what you're doing right now, even if that's something as simple as eating a meal or responding to an email. Think about the times you've rushed through a task or multitasked, thinking you'd get it done faster. How often did that leave you feeling unsatisfied or like you hadn't done your best? The reality is, when we don't show up fully in the moment, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to build our discipline. Instead of making meaningful progress, we end up scattered, fragmented, and unfocused. Stoicism teaches us that when we engage with each task fully, no matter how small, we are exercising our discipline. It's in these small, everyday moments that self-discipline grows. The truth is, we can't always control what happens around us. The future is uncertain, and the past is set in stone. But today, right now, is yours. You have control over how you spend this moment, and that's where your power lies. When you focus on the present, you stop waiting for motivation or inspiration to strike. You just act. You make the most of the moment. And with each small, focused action, you build the momentum to tackle larger goals. Think about it. Self-discipline isn't built in a day. It's built through the consistency of showing up, being present, and committing fully to the task at hand. Over time, these small efforts compound, leading to bigger successes. One of the biggest challenges to focusing on the present is the constant stream of distractions. Whether it's checking your phone, scrolling through social media, or simply allowing your mind to wander, distractions are everywhere. And when you let your attention slip, you not only waste time, but you also drain your energy and focus. Marcus Aurelius wasn't immune to this challenge, which is why he often reminded himself to keep his mind focused on the present. "Confine yourself to the present," he wrote. This advice holds a lot of weight in today's world, where distractions are just a click away. If you want to cultivate self-discipline, you have to become intentional about where you place your attention. The more you allow distractions to take over, the less control you have over your own life. And without control, there is no self-discipline. So how can you start focusing on the present? It starts with mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just a buzzword, it's the practice of being fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions in the moment. It's about paying attention, being present with what's in front of you, and tuning out everything else. When you engage in something, Give it your full attention. Don't rush through it. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you work, be fully immersed in the task. When you talk to someone, listen fully. These moments might seem small, but they are powerful. When you show up fully, you're building the mental muscle needed for self-discipline. Another technique to help you stay present is to practice gratitude. When you remind yourself of what you're grateful for right now, you stop focusing on what you don't have or what might happen in the future. Gratitude grounds you in the present. It helps you appreciate the moment instead of rushing through it or wishing for something different. Gratitude teaches us that what we have right now is enough. It brings us back to the present and helps us focus on what's truly important. In a world that's always chasing the next big thing, gratitude reminds us to slow down and appreciate the here and now. The key takeaway is simple. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect time to act. Those moments may never come. The only time you have is right now. So, the next time you catch yourself drifting into worries about the future or regrets about the past, gently bring your focus back to the present. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to move forward? And do it. When you commit to the present, you stop procrastinating, stop doubting yourself, and stop letting distractions take over. You take control of your life by taking control of the moment. Self-discipline thrives in the present moment, and it's there, right now, that you have the power to make meaningful progress toward your goals. 8. Control your reactions. How often do we let our emotions control us? It's something that happens to all of us at one point or another. One moment you're calm and collected, and the next something happens. A comment from a friend, a mistake at work, or a frustrating delay, and suddenly your emotions are in the driver's seat. You can feel your heart racing, your thoughts clouded, and your patience thinning. It's easy to lose control. After all, we're human. But what if, instead of letting emotions take over, you could pause, take a deep breath, and choose how to respond? What if you could gain mastery over your emotions rather than letting them master you? This is where the teachings of Stoicism come into play, and it's where true self-discipline begins. Stoicism has a simple but powerful idea at its core. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react. The Stoics understood that life would throw obstacles, challenges, and frustrations our way. But how we respond to these external events is entirely up to us. We don't have the power to change the world around us, but we have the ultimate control over our reactions. This understanding is the foundation of emotional mastery. Every time you choose a calm, reasoned response rather than a knee-jerk emotional reaction, you're building not only emotional strength, but also self-discipline. Let's say you're stuck in traffic. You're running late and you can feel the frustration bubbling up inside. It's easy to get angry, to start honking your horn or muttering under your breath. But what does that really solve? It doesn't change the traffic, and it certainly doesn't make you feel better in the long run. In moments like these, Stoicism teaches us to pause and ask ourselves, what can I control here? The answer is clear. We control how we respond. Rather than letting the frustration take over, we can choose to take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the time to focus on something else, like listening to an inspiring podcast or simply relaxing. When you pause and make that conscious choice, you're building the habit of emotional discipline. This is where the Stoic idea of virtue comes into play. Virtue in Stoicism is about aligning your actions with reason and wisdom, rather than being controlled by your impulses. It's about acting in a way that is consistent with your values, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending that you're always in control. It's about choosing to act with reason rather than reacting impulsively. Every time you choose to respond with wisdom and self-control, you reinforce your emotional discipline. We've all been in situations where emotions have taken over, whether it's anger, frustration, or even anxiety. But here's the thing, those emotions are temporary. They come and go, like waves crashing against the shore. The challenge is not to let them dictate your actions. The Stoics believed that we should view our emotions as just that, temporary feelings that don't define us. We are not our emotions. They are simply signals, informing us about what's going on inside, but they don't have to control our actions. When you recognize that your emotions are temporary, you gain the power to let them pass without letting them rule your behavior. No matter what life throws at us, we have the power to choose our response. Our emotions might arise automatically in response to a situation, but how we choose to act on them is where our true power lies. The more we practice this awareness, the more we strengthen our emotional resilience. We stop being victims of our circumstances and start taking ownership of our responses. The key to emotional mastery is practice. It's easy to think that emotions are something we either have control over or don't. But in reality, emotional discipline is a skill, one that requires consistent practice. Each time you face a challenge, whether it's something as small as a comment that offends you or something as big as a personal setback, use it as an opportunity to practice. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what is my response going to be? This moment of reflection doesn't just calm you down, it strengthens your emotional muscle. Over time, these moments of pause add up and your reactions start to shift. You become less reactive and more proactive in how you manage your emotions. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from mastering ourselves. When we let our emotions control us, we're not free, we're slaves to them. We are at the mercy of every external event, and our peace of mind depends on things outside of us. But when we take control of our reactions, we become free. We don't allow the actions of others or the circumstances around us to dictate how we feel. Instead, we choose to maintain our inner calm and act in a way that aligns with our values, no matter what's happening around us. It's important to note that emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Stoicism doesn't teach us to ignore our emotions. It teaches us to acknowledge them without letting them control us. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Often, it's our reaction to an emotion, not the emotion itself, that causes us the most suffering. When we feel anger, frustration, or sadness, our initial reaction is often to cling to that emotion, to amplify it, and to let it dictate our behavior. But when we acknowledge the emotion without judgment, without letting it define us, we free ourselves from its grip. We learn to move through it rather than be trapped by it. This doesn't mean that you should try to think your way out of your emotions as if you can simply rationalize them away. Emotions are real, and they have a place in our lives. They are messengers, providing us with valuable insights into what we care about and how we're experiencing the world. But they don't need to control us. Emotional mastery is about letting your emotions inform you without letting them control your actions. It's about responding thoughtfully, not reactively. So how do you start mastering your emotions today? It begins with awareness. When you feel your emotions start to rise, whether it's frustration, anger, or even fear, take a moment to pause. Acknowledge the feeling. Don't fight it and don't suppress it. Simply recognize it as a natural response to a situation. Then, instead of reacting automatically, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is the wise response here? By practicing this pause, you take the power back. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding with reason. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, take a breath. Instead of reacting with anger, ask yourself, how can I respond with wisdom and self-control? The more you practice this, the more it becomes second nature. Soon, you'll find that your emotional responses are no longer something you manage, they're something you master. And with that mastery comes greater self-discipline, inner peace, and the ability to face life's challenges with resilience. Remember, emotional mastery isn't about perfection. It's not about never feeling angry or upset. It's about learning to respond thoughtfully, rather than being swept away by your emotions. It's about realizing that your emotions don't define you. You define how you respond to them. The more you practice this, the more you'll see that emotional mastery is not just a Stoic principle, but a way of living with greater freedom, peace, and self-discipline. 9. Learn from every day. Every day we wake up, go through the motions, and fall into our routines. We rush from one task to another, from one commitment to the next, trying to get everything done. But how often do we stop and reflect on our day? How often do we ask ourselves if the way we spent our time was in line with our values, or if we could have done better? It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to pause for a moment of introspection. But here's the thing, without reflection, we lose the chance to learn and grow from our experiences. We might get caught in the same mistakes, the same patterns, the same distractions, without even realizing it. This is where the Stoic practice of daily reflection comes in, a simple yet powerful tool for personal growth and self-discipline. The Stoics knew that it wasn't enough to just live each day. They understood that real progress and self-discipline come from actively engaging with our actions and decisions, evaluating them, and using those insights to improve. The beauty of daily reflection lies in its simplicity. It's not about harsh self-criticism or beating yourself up for mistakes. It's about becoming more aware of how you're living and using that awareness to make small improvements each day. When you reflect, you give yourself the space to think deeply about how your actions align with your goals and values. This helps you identify patterns in your behavior, both positive and negative, so you can fine-tune your discipline and habits. Without this regular check-in, it's easy to let days slip by, unconsciously repeating the same mistakes or falling back into old habits. But when you reflect, you consciously choose to improve, to become better, and to grow. A part of becoming who you truly are involves looking honestly at yourself. Reflection isn't about judging yourself for your imperfections. It's about recognizing where you've gone off course, and more importantly, where you've done well. It's about embracing the fact that personal growth is a journey, not a destination. Each day is an opportunity to learn, to course correct, and to move closer to becoming the person you are meant to be. Without this awareness, personal development is just a dream, but with daily reflection, it becomes a concrete reality. Let's break this down. When you reflect, ask yourself a few key questions. Did I stay true to my values today? Did I act in alignment with my goals? Or did I get distracted? What could I have done better? These questions help you bring clarity to your actions. For instance, if you notice that you spent the entire day procrastinating, reflecting helps you pinpoint why that happened. Was it fear, doubt, or simply poor planning? Recognizing the underlying reasons for your actions is the first step to breaking out of negative cycles and creating positive, disciplined habits. And the beauty of reflection is that it doesn't have to be a time-consuming or complicated process. Just 5 minutes at the end of each day can make a world of difference. The power of daily reflection is incredible. It helps you spot patterns in your behavior and fine-tune your discipline. For example, perhaps you notice that every time you get stressed, you resort to old habits, procrastination, avoidance, or emotional eating. Reflection helps you understand this pattern, and once you're aware of it, you can take steps to change it. The key is to use your reflection not to judge yourself, but to learn from your actions and adapt. In this context, it's not about having fewer goals or ambitions. It's about refining your daily actions so that your behavior aligns with your deeper values, making your actions more purposeful and impactful. It's easy to let a whole day go by without truly engaging with it. Maybe you're too focused on the future, or maybe you're stuck replaying the past in your mind. But the only time you have control over is the present moment. By practicing daily reflection, you force yourself to become more present in your life. You engage with your experiences and extract lessons from them. This practice keeps you grounded and reminds you that each day is an opportunity to improve. You start seeing every challenge as a chance to learn, rather than as an obstacle to overcome. And this mindset shift is key to developing self-discipline. Many people think of self-discipline as something external, something that requires strict routines and constant willpower. While routines and willpower are important, true self-discipline comes from within. It's about aligning your actions with your values, regardless of how you feel in the moment. And that alignment starts with awareness. When you reflect on your actions each day, you start to see where you're not living in alignment with your goals. Maybe you're spending too much time on distractions, or maybe you're not setting clear boundaries with others. Reflection gives you the space to course correct, to adjust your behavior, and to stay true to your path. The more you practice daily reflection, the more disciplined you become. It becomes easier to stay on track because you're actively engaged with your growth process. And as you see your progress, even in small increments, your confidence in your ability to control your actions grows. You start to trust yourself more because you know you're continuously learning and improving. Reflection reinforces your commitment to your values and goals, and with each day, you strengthen your resolve to live intentionally. In the context of Stoicism, reflection is about practicing mindfulness and accepting that there will always be room for growth. The Stoics didn't believe in perfection. They believed in the constant practice of virtue, in continually striving to live better. Reflection is an essential part of this process because it allows you to honestly assess where you've succeeded and where you've fallen short. It's through this honest self-assessment that you can make adjustments and build on your successes. It's not about being perfect, it's about being better than you were yesterday. And by consistently reflecting on your actions, you create a feedback loop that reinforces your self-discipline and growth. Start small with your reflection practice. Set aside 5 minutes each night before bed to think about your day. Ask yourself the important questions. Did I act in line with my values? What can I learn from today? Where can I improve tomorrow? It might feel awkward at first, but with practice, it will become a habit that shapes your life in ways you might not even fully realize at first. The more you practice reflection, the more you build the foundation of self-discipline. And with self-discipline comes greater clarity, focus, and inner peace. The more you reflect, the more you learn, and the more you grow. By making daily reflection a part of your routine, you begin to take control of your actions and your life. You stop letting days slip by unnoticed, and you start living intentionally. You stop reacting to life's challenges and begin responding thoughtfully. And in doing so, you develop the self-discipline to achieve your goals and live a life that's true to who you are. Reflect every day, and you'll soon see the impact it has on your ability to grow, adapt, and live with purpose. 10. Prioritize long-term goals over instant gratification. In today's world, everything is designed to give us immediate gratification. We live in an age where convenience is king, whether it's ordering a meal with just a few taps on your phone or scrolling through endless social media feeds to get that quick dopamine fix. Instant results are everywhere, and it's easy to fall into the trap of always wanting something right now. After all, who doesn't like the instant pleasure of a quick snack or a few minutes of scrolling through your feed to unwind? But here's the catch. These quick rewards, as satisfying as they are in the moment, often don't align with our long-term goals. They're temporary fixes that can leave us feeling unsatisfied and stuck in a cycle of fleeting pleasure. True self-discipline, as the Stoics taught us, is about focusing on the bigger picture. It's about choosing the long-term gains over the immediate rewards that offer only short-term satisfaction. Take a moment and think about your own life. How many times have you made a decision based on immediate pleasure, only to regret it later? Maybe it was that extra slice of cake when you were trying to eat healthier, or binge-watching TV shows instead of tackling a work project. In these moments, we give in to our immediate desires and overlook the bigger picture. The result? We feel good in the moment, but later, we might feel guilty or disappointed in ourselves. But what if, instead of giving in to those short-term pleasures, you made a decision that aligned with your long-term goals? Imagine choosing to stick to your workout plan, even though it's easier to sit on the couch. Imagine saving money for the future, even though it would feel so good to buy that new gadget. When you make these choices, even though they don't give you instant satisfaction, they align with your true values. Over time, these small, disciplined decisions add up to major long-term benefits. This concept of delayed gratification is central to Stoic thought. The Stoics recognized that the path to a disciplined life is not paved with indulgence in immediate pleasures, but with the ability to resist them for something more meaningful. This doesn't mean that the Stoics were against enjoying life. They simply understood that enjoyment should not come at the expense of our greater goals. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This quote speaks directly to the practice of delayed gratification. In other words, true freedom and self-discipline come from being in control of your desires, not letting them control you. When you choose long-term goals over short-term pleasures, you are actively practicing mastery over yourself. And this mastery is what ultimately leads to true freedom and fulfillment. Now, I know this isn't easy. In a world where we're conditioned to get things quickly and effortlessly, delaying gratification feels like going against the grain. But here's the truth. It's in those moments of discomfort, in choosing the hard path over the easy one, that you build self-discipline. You see, self-discipline isn't just about resisting temptation. It's about making decisions that align with your future self. It's about having the foresight to recognize that immediate rewards may feel good now, but the long-term benefits of sticking to your goals will bring far greater satisfaction. In fact, many of the things that are most rewarding in life, like building a successful career, cultivating meaningful relationships, or achieving personal health goals, require consistent effort over time. They don't happen overnight, but when you stay focused on the long term, the payoff is worth it. It might help to think of it like planting a garden. You could spend all your time picking the flowers as soon as they bloom, but the real reward comes when you nurture the garden over time, knowing that the fruits of your labor will eventually blossom into something beautiful. The same goes for your life. Instead of giving in to immediate pleasures, take small actions every day that move you closer to your long-term goals. Save a little bit of money, even when it's tempting to splurge. Spend an extra 30 minutes studying or working on a project, even when you'd rather relax. Each small decision builds on the last, and eventually, these small steps lead to significant results. Carl Jung once said, The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This quote speaks to the heart of self-discipline. To truly embrace delayed gratification, you must accept that the path to success is often slow and steady. There will be moments when the immediate reward is tantalizing, but the discipline to push through those moments, to stay focused on the bigger picture, is what shapes your character. Self-discipline is not about punishing yourself or denying yourself joy. It's about understanding that true happiness comes from making decisions that align with your greater purpose. In this way, delayed gratification isn't a sacrifice, it's an investment in your future self. Start small with this practice of prioritizing long-term goals. Make one decision today that aligns with your greater objectives, even if it feels uncomfortable in the moment. It might be skipping a night of binge-watching TV shows to work on a personal project, or it might be saving a little bit of money instead of splurging. Whatever it is, recognize that each time you make a decision that puts your future first, you are strengthening your ability to practice delayed gratification. These small steps may not provide instant satisfaction, but the rewards they bring over time will be worth far more than any temporary pleasure. Over time, as you continue to practice this, you'll notice a shift in how you approach life. The immediate pleasure of instant gratification won't feel as appealing because you'll begin to see the deeper satisfaction that comes from achieving long-term goals. You'll start to feel more in control of your life, more aligned with your values, and more confident in your ability to stay disciplined. And when the inevitable temptations come your way, you'll be able to make decisions that are rooted in your long-term vision, not just in the fleeting moment. At the end of the day, true self-discipline is about recognizing that your choices have long-term consequences. The small actions you take today shape your future. So, instead of giving in to the pull of immediate rewards, choose to invest in yourself. Choose the hard path, the disciplined path, and trust that the rewards will come. The Stoics understood this, and their wisdom remains just as relevant today. So start making one decision today that aligns with your long-term goals, and watch as those small choices compound into lasting success. 11. Tune out the distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. From the constant buzz of notifications on your phone to the endless stream of content on social media, it feels like there's always something vying for your attention. It's hard to get away from it. But here's the truth. If you want to build real self-discipline, if you want to achieve your goals, you need to learn how to filter out the noise. You need to take control of your environment and protect your mind from the chaos around you. Think about it. How many times have you started a task only to find yourself sidetracked by an email, a notification, or a quick scroll through Instagram? These distractions, though they seem small, add up and derail your focus. And when your attention is scattered, it's almost impossible to stay disciplined. But if you can learn to tune out the external noise, your ability to focus on what truly matters will improve drastically. The Stoics understood this principle better than most. They lived in a world that was far less connected than ours, yet they still faced distractions. Whether it was the pressures of public life, the expectations of others, or the challenges of managing their own thoughts. The Stoic philosophers were relentless in protecting their minds from external disturbances. We live in an age where external noise is not just constant, it's pervasive. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, we're bombarded by messages, ads, texts, and countless bits of information that pull our attention in every direction. And let's be honest, this isn't just a harmless inconvenience. It's draining. It wears down our mental energy, leaving us with less focus for the things that truly matter. So, how do we protect ourselves from this? One simple way is by making intentional decisions about what we let into our lives. It's about setting boundaries and making conscious choices about how we spend our time and energy. The first step in tuning out distractions is to acknowledge that you have the power to control them. The world is full of noise, but you don't have to listen to it. Carl Jung said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." This quote speaks directly to the importance of tuning out the external world in order to focus on what's truly important, our inner thoughts, goals and values. When we stop allowing distractions to dictate our lives, we create the mental space to focus on our own development and growth. This is where self-discipline thrives. You need to be able to filter out the noise so that you can hear your own voice, the voice that is aligned with your goals, your purpose, and your values. One of the most effective ways to reduce distractions is by making intentional decisions about how you interact with technology. Our phones are one of the biggest sources of external noise. They buzz, beep, and light up at all hours of the day, demanding our attention. And it's easy to get caught up in the cycle, checking emails, responding to messages, scrolling through social media. But the more we allow these distractions to control our attention, the less mental energy we have for our goals. So, what can you do? Start by turning off notifications. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb during the hours when you need to focus. Set time limits on social media so that you're not mindlessly scrolling for hours. These small changes can make a huge difference in your ability to stay disciplined. When you actively control your environment, you create the space needed for focused work, intentional living, and true self-discipline. It's not just about the distractions that come from technology either. External noise can come from many sources: people's opinions, societal pressures, or the constant barrage of information we receive daily. The Stoics understood that not everything deserves our attention. They knew that focusing on external factors, things we have no control over, only leads to anxiety and frustration. That's why they emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses. In the words of Epictetus, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy. We cannot let the chaos around us dictate our inner peace. When we let external noise distract us, we lose that inner peace. But when we focus on what we can control, our own actions, thoughts, and emotions, we reclaim our power. Focusing on what matters most means creating space for intentional living. It's about aligning your actions with your long-term goals, not letting distractions derail your progress. Think about your day-to-day routine. How much of it is spent reacting to external noise? How much time do you waste on things that don't serve you, simply because they're there, demanding attention? The more you recognize these distractions, the easier it becomes to filter them out. This doesn't mean that you have to cut off all external influence. There are times when connection and engagement with the world are necessary and valuable. But it does mean that you need to make conscious decisions about what deserves your time and attention. One way to practice this is by setting clear boundaries. Just like you wouldn't allow someone to invade your personal space without your consent, don't allow external distractions to invade your mental space. Protect your focus. When you're working on something important, give it your undivided attention. When you're engaging in relationships, be fully present. When you're taking time for yourself, don't let the world pull you in 100 different directions. By setting boundaries around your time and attention, you're giving yourself the opportunity to cultivate self-discipline. You're making the conscious decision to prioritize what truly matters and tune out the distractions that are only serving to keep you from your goals. Jung also once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And when you start to filter out the external noise, you begin to embrace this idea. You stop seeking approval from others. Stop comparing yourself to everyone around you and start trusting in your own decisions and path. The more you focus on your goals and your inner purpose, the less you'll feel the need to react to the noise. You'll stop measuring your worth based on external standards and start measuring it by your own standards, by how well you live in alignment with your values. So, how can you begin to tune out the distractions in your own life? Start small. Turn off the notifications that keep pulling you away from what's important. Set aside specific times during the day to focus on your goals without interruption. Protect your mental space from the constant bombardment of noise. And remember, just like the Stoics, you have the power to control what you allow into your mind. When you focus on what's within your control and filter out what isn't, you'll find that your ability to stay disciplined grows stronger. The external world may be full of noise, but you don't have to let it drown out your focus. You have the power to choose what you listen to, and with that power comes the strength to stay disciplined and achieve your goals. 12th, let go of the need to control everything. We've all been there, haven't we? That overwhelming feeling of needing to control everything. Whether it's the way others behave, the outcomes of a project, or even the weather, sometimes we find ourselves gripping tightly to things we just can't change. It's exhausting. You may find yourself obsessing over every detail, trying to make everything just right, and yet still feeling like it's all slipping through your fingers. The harder you try to control things outside of your reach, the more you drain your energy, leaving little left for the things that truly matter. This constant striving for control can even block your growth, especially when it comes to building self-discipline. The truth is, true discipline isn't about trying to micromanage everything in your life. It's about learning to focus on what you can control and letting go of the rest. The Stoics had a unique perspective on this. They recognized that many things in life are beyond our control: the actions of others, the weather, and even the outcomes of certain events. These are all things that we cannot dictate. But where the Stoics found wisdom was in understanding that while we can't control external circumstances, we do have full control over our own thoughts, actions, and responses. It's easy to get caught up in trying to shape every part of your life. You want to make everything go according to plan. You want everything to unfold perfectly. But the reality is, life doesn't always work that way. There will always be variables you can't predict or control. The more you try to control those things, the more frustrated and anxious you'll become. It's like trying to stop the rain. You can't make it stop, no matter how hard you try. Instead of fighting the things you can't control, the Stoic way is to focus your energy on what is within your reach. This shift in perspective doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means being proactive in the areas where you can make a difference and learning to accept the things that you cannot change. Think about a situation you've encountered recently where things didn't go the way you wanted. Maybe you planned an event that didn't turn out as expected, or you put effort into a project only for someone else's actions to derail it. How did you feel in that moment? Were you frustrated, angry, or perhaps even overwhelmed? That's a natural reaction, but here's the question: did that frustration serve you? Did it change the outcome of the situation? Likely not. In fact, dwelling on what you can't control often wastes energy that could be better spent elsewhere. When you focus on your own actions, responses, and decisions, things you can control, you can redirect your energy in a way that moves you forward, even if the situation itself is beyond your influence. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." This speaks directly to the concept of letting go of control. The more you resist the uncontrollable, the more it holds you hostage. When you constantly try to manage things that are outside of your control, you only create more resistance within yourself, which adds stress and frustration. However, if you accept that certain things are beyond your reach and focus on what you can influence, you'll find peace. It's a simple yet profound truth. The less you resist what you can't control, the more control you'll have over your own peace and discipline. This principle applies to many areas of life. Take relationships, for example. You can't control how other people think, feel, or behave. You can't force someone to see things your way or act in a certain way. All you can control is your own behavior and your own response. This can be a hard pill to swallow, especially when we feel strongly about something, but trying to control others or their actions only leads to frustration. Instead, focus on how you choose to act. Do you respond with patience? Do you hold on to your values, even when others challenge them? When you focus on your actions rather than trying to change others, you begin to cultivate emotional discipline, which is key to self-discipline as a whole. Imagine for a moment the amount of mental and emotional energy you waste by focusing on things beyond your control. Think of the times you felt anxious or frustrated because you were trying to manage something that wasn't yours to manage. Someone's opinion, the outcome of an event, or the unpredictability of life itself. When you let go of these struggles and accept the things you can't control, you free up that energy to focus on what truly matters: your own actions, your personal growth, and your long-term goals. The Stoics also understood that life is inherently uncertain. There will always be things outside of our control, and the more we resist this reality, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead of clinging to certainty, Stoicism teaches us to embrace the unknown and accept the ebb and flow of life. Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it comes." This mindset allows you to focus on what you can do today and let go of what's beyond your reach. It's about living fully in the present, making the best decisions you can, and not letting external chaos dictate your internal state. So, how can you start embracing this idea of letting go of control? Start small. The next time you find yourself stressing about something you can't change, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. Redirect your attention to something you can control, whether that's how you react to a situation or the actions you take in the next moment. Over time, this practice will become second nature. As you let go of the need to control everything, you'll feel a sense of freedom and peace that comes from focusing only on what truly matters. Your energy will be better spent, and your self-discipline will grow stronger. Acceptance of what we can't control doesn't mean we become passive or complacent. Far from it. It means we stop wasting our energy on battles we can't win and start focusing on what we can change: our own actions, thoughts, and responses. It means cultivating the strength to take responsibility for what is ours and let go of the rest. In doing so, we find peace in the midst of chaos and discipline in the face of uncertainty. The less we resist what we cannot control, the more we can embrace the power we do have over our lives. In this way, we build not just self-discipline, but inner strength and resilience. Let go of what you cannot control, and you'll find that the peace you seek was always within your grasp. 13. Appreciate what you have. How often do you find yourself focusing on what you don't have? It's easy to get caught up in this cycle, especially in a world that constantly promotes the idea that more is better. More possessions, more recognition, more success. These things are often presented as the key to happiness. But what if the true path to happiness and ultimately to self-discipline lies not in constantly striving for more, but in appreciating what you already have? When we practice gratitude, we shift our focus away from the things we lack and start acknowledging the abundance already present in our lives. And this simple shift in perspective can make all the difference when it comes to building a life of discipline and fulfillment. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice. It's a tool that helps you rewire your mindset. Instead of falling into the trap of constantly wanting more, whether it's more money, more success, or more possessions, you begin to see that what you have right now is enough. This doesn't mean you stop striving for personal growth or working toward your goals, but it does mean that you stop allowing the pursuit of more to distract you from the blessings you already possess. When you practice gratitude, you naturally begin to cultivate a mindset that focuses on abundance rather than scarcity. You shift away from the constant desire for more and start appreciating the things you already have. Whether it's your health, your relationships, or even something as simple as a warm cup of coffee in the morning, there is always something to be thankful for. This mindset is essential for self-discipline because it keeps you grounded. When you're constantly chasing after the next big thing, it's easy to become distracted, frustrated, and even exhausted. But when you appreciate what you already have, you begin to feel more content and focused on your journey. You realize that you don't need to fill an empty void with external possessions or achievements, because the real richness comes from within. Think about how much of your energy is spent wishing for things that are outside of your control. How often do you find yourself thinking, if only I had more money, a better job, or more time, then I could be successful? This line of thinking can trap you in a cycle of perpetual longing. You start believing that happiness and success are always just out of reach, and this mindset prevents you from taking full advantage of the opportunities and resources you have right now. Gratitude, however, helps break this cycle. It reminds you that you are enough as you are, and that the tools you need to succeed are already within your grasp. By focusing on what you have, rather than what you lack, you start to feel empowered to make the most of your current situation. The more you practice gratitude, the more your focus shifts from scarcity to abundance, and the more you cultivate the discipline needed to move forward with purpose. The simple act of starting each day with gratitude can have a profound impact on your mental and emotional state. A powerful way to begin is by taking a moment every morning to list 3 things you're grateful for. They can be big or small, anything that brings you a sense of gratitude. Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the opportunity to pursue your passion, or the ability to take a walk in nature. This daily practice helps reframe your mindset and sets a positive tone for the day. When you start your day with an attitude of gratitude, you're less likely to be derailed by distractions or frustrations. You're grounded in the knowledge that, despite life's challenges, there is always something worth appreciating. And this appreciation becomes the foundation for everything else you do. Gratitude also plays a crucial role in building emotional resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed when things aren't going your way. But when you practice gratitude, you learn to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than setbacks. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, you shift your perspective to what's still going right. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It simply means recognizing that, even in difficult times, there are still reasons to be thankful. By practicing gratitude, you cultivate a mindset that helps you stay grounded even when life gets tough. This emotional resilience is key to self-discipline because it allows you to persevere through difficulties without losing sight of your long-term goals. Imagine for a moment how different your life would be if you spent each day focusing on what you're grateful for instead of what's missing. How would it feel to go through your day appreciating the little things, the quiet moments, the people who support you, the opportunities to learn and grow? Gratitude shifts your perspective from lack to abundance, and when you make this shift, everything starts to change. You begin to feel more content with where you are and more motivated to keep moving forward. You realize that the journey itself, with all its ups and downs, is just as valuable as the destination. And with this mindset, you develop the kind of self-discipline that isn't about forcing yourself to do more, but about making the most of what you have. Another aspect of gratitude is its ability to foster a deeper connection with others. When you are grateful for the people in your life, you naturally want to show appreciation for them. You become more present in your relationships and more thoughtful in your interactions. This strengthens your connections, which in turn supports your personal growth and self-discipline. Relationships are an essential part of the human experience, and when you approach them with gratitude, they become a source of motivation and inspiration rather than stress or obligation. But gratitude isn't just about recognizing the positive in your life. It's also about acknowledging the challenges and difficulties that shape you. Every obstacle, every hardship is an opportunity for growth. And by being grateful for these experiences, you reframe them as lessons rather than burdens. Gratitude also helps you cultivate patience. In a world that constantly pushes us to achieve faster, get more, and be better, it's easy to forget that growth takes time. We often want instant results, and when we don't get them, we get frustrated. But gratitude teaches us to be patient. It reminds us that all good things come in time, and that every step on our journey is valuable. By appreciating the small wins, the progress, and the lessons along the way, we learn to enjoy the process rather than constantly chasing after the next thing. So, how can you begin to cultivate gratitude today? Start small. Each morning, take a moment to list 3 things you're grateful for. And throughout your day, whenever you feel frustrated or overwhelmed, pause and reflect on what's going well. This simple practice will shift your focus from what's missing to what's abundant in your life, and it will help you stay grounded and focused on your journey. With time, gratitude becomes not just a practice, but a mindset that shapes how you approach every aspect of your life. It's a key that unlocks the door to true self-discipline, fulfillment, and inner peace. 14. Take responsibility. It's easy to slip into the habit of blaming external factors when things don't go the way we want. Maybe it's the economy, the weather, the government, or even other people. It's natural to point the finger and say, if only this had happened differently, I'd be where I want to be. But here's the problem. When you blame others or external circumstances for your situation, you give away your power. You surrender your ability to change. If you want to build real self-discipline, you need to take responsibility for your life, your actions, and your outcomes. It's about saying, this is my life, and I'm in charge of it. The Stoics were masters of this mindset. They believed that no matter what happens to us, our response is what defines us. If you want to move forward, you need to stop looking outside and start looking inward. Your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you respond to what happens. When you take responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and reactions, you take back control over your life. This doesn't mean you're immune to failure or hardship. It just means that no matter what comes your way, you have the power to choose how you handle it. And this is the core of self-discipline, owning your life, rather than letting circumstances or others dictate it. It's easy to fall into the trap of playing the victim. It's not my fault, we tell ourselves when things go wrong. I couldn't help it, we say, when we fail to achieve a goal. But the truth is, by placing the blame on others, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to learn, grow, and take control. This mindset keeps us stuck. It tells us that we're powerless, that our outcomes are determined by external forces. The Stoics, however, knew that the key to true freedom and discipline lies in our ability to own our responses to life. Taking responsibility isn't about denying the existence of obstacles or pretending that life is always easy. It's about recognizing that no matter how hard things get, you are still in control of how you respond. Think about it. When something goes wrong, what's your first instinct? Do you blame others? Do you get frustrated and give up? Or do you pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what could I have done differently? This shift in mindset is essential for building self-discipline. Instead of reacting impulsively or letting your emotions take over, you start approaching challenges with a sense of ownership. You start asking productive questions, looking for solutions, and finding ways to improve. This is how you build the resilience and discipline needed to keep moving forward, no matter what life throws at you. A big part of this responsibility is accepting that failure is a natural part of life. Too often, we avoid responsibility because we fear failure. We're afraid that if we take ownership of our actions and outcomes, we'll have to face our shortcomings and mistakes. But here's the thing, failure isn't the enemy. In fact, failure is often the greatest teacher we have. When you take responsibility for your life, you stop waiting for things to happen. You become the architect of your own future. This doesn't mean that things will always go your way, but it does mean that you are in control of your actions, your mindset, and your decisions. You stop making excuses and start making progress. Self-discipline isn't about forcing yourself to work hard for the sake of working hard. It's about making intentional choices that align with your goals and values. It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. And it starts with taking ownership of your life. Taking responsibility is also about acknowledging that the journey to success is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and bumps along the way. But instead of blaming others or external circumstances for these setbacks, taking responsibility means asking yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? The key is to embrace failure as part of the process, not as a roadblock. When you take responsibility, you understand that every mistake is an opportunity to grow and improve. You learn to view challenges as chances to practice your discipline, to strengthen your resolve, and to sharpen your skills. Taking ownership also helps you build a sense of inner strength. When you own your actions, you stop giving away your power to others or to circumstances. You stop being a passive observer in your own life and start becoming an active participant. This active participation in your life is what leads to self-mastery and true discipline. The more you take responsibility for your thoughts, actions, and reactions, the more empowered you become. You stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and start taking charge of your life's direction. Let's put this into practice. The next time something doesn't go as planned, take a step back and assess the situation. Instead of pointing fingers or looking for excuses, ask yourself, what could I have done differently? How can I respond in a way that brings me closer to my goals? This practice isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being honest with yourself and learning from each experience. The more you do this, the stronger your self-discipline becomes. You'll start to see failure as a learning opportunity and success as the natural result of consistent effort and ownership. Self-discipline at its core is about ownership. It's about taking full responsibility for your life, your choices, and your actions. It's about recognizing that while you can't control everything that happens, you are always in control of how you respond. When you take responsibility, you not only gain control over your actions, but you also gain peace of mind, knowing that your success or failure is in your hands. You stop blaming others, stop making excuses, and start becoming the person you're meant to be. The more you take responsibility for your life, the more disciplined, empowered, and fulfilled you will become. 15. Stay patient. We live in a world that often celebrates quick results and instant gratification. We're conditioned to want things fast. Whether it's a promotion, a new car, or even personal growth, we want it all to happen as quickly as possible. But when it comes to building lasting self-discipline, patience is key. The truth is, you won't develop true discipline in a day, and you won't wake up tomorrow with all the habits you've been trying to establish already perfected. The road to self-discipline is a journey, not a sprint. Every step you take is part of that journey, and it's essential to remember that progress doesn't always come in giant leaps. It's built over time, through small, consistent actions that compound. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is lasting self-discipline. So, if you're feeling frustrated or discouraged, take a moment, breathe, and remind yourself that the path you're walking is long, but it's worth every step. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, is an excellent example of this principle. His meditations offer profound insights into the nature of self-discipline and growth. But it's important to remember that Marcus didn't become a master of self-discipline overnight. His journey was one of gradual progress, of constant self-reflection and refinement. In his writings, he often reminded himself to stay patient, to take things one step at a time. He understood that self-mastery was a process that required consistent effort. In one of his reflections, he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote encapsulates a key idea. It's not about achieving instant perfection, but about exercising patience with yourself and recognizing that the process itself is a part of the growth. It's through the slow, steady work that we build the discipline to succeed. Patience is something that often feels difficult to practice in today's world. With everything at our fingertips, whether it's instant news, fast food, or the constant demands of technology, waiting for anything feels like a luxury. But when it comes to developing self-discipline, patience is an essential virtue. If you're trying to adopt new habits or make positive changes in your life, it can be easy to become disheartened when results don't come as quickly as you'd like. You may even start to question whether it's worth it. But here's the thing, progress isn't always linear. There will be days when you take one step forward and others when you feel like you've taken 2 steps back. That's all part of the process. The important thing is to keep going, even when it feels slow. Like Marcus Aurelius, you need to remind yourself that self-discipline is cultivated over time and every small effort counts. Think about any major accomplishment in your life. Was it achieved instantly? Or did it take time, effort, and persistence? Most likely it was the latter. Whether you're learning a new skill, building a career, or improving your health, success requires consistent work over time. It's easy to get excited in the beginning when everything feels new and full of potential. But as time goes on, the initial enthusiasm may fade, and that's when patience becomes vital. Self-discipline thrives when we continue showing up, even on the days when we don't feel like it. It's not about motivation, it's about cultivating a steady commitment to the process, no matter how slow or difficult it feels. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally psychological problems, and they are solved not by a single act, but by continuous effort." The same can be said for self-discipline. It's not the quick, fleeting moments of motivation that bring lasting results. It's the continuous, everyday effort that leads to true growth. One of the reasons why patience is so important in building self-discipline is that it helps us manage our expectations. Too often, we set ourselves up for disappointment by expecting rapid results. We think that after a few days or weeks of hard work, we should see dramatic changes. But life doesn't work that way, and neither does self-discipline. The more we expect instant success, the more likely we are to get discouraged when things don't go as planned. Instead, if we approach our goals with patience, we allow ourselves the grace to experience setbacks and failures without losing our resolve. Each setback becomes a lesson, not a reason to give up. And this is what builds the muscle of self-discipline, the ability to keep going despite challenges, knowing that growth takes time and effort. Building self-discipline is much like building any other skill. Just like you wouldn't expect to become an expert in playing an instrument after just a few practices, you shouldn't expect to master self-discipline instantly. It takes time to form habits, to train your mind to make better decisions, and to overcome the constant temptation of instant gratification. Each day, you have the opportunity to practice patience with yourself. It's about showing up, consistently making choices that align with your long-term goals, and not letting the temporary frustration of slow progress derail you. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't plant a seed and then immediately see the tree. It takes time for the seed to grow, to push through the soil, and to eventually become something strong and lasting. Your self-discipline is the same. With patience, the small efforts you make every day will eventually blossom into something strong and resilient. Another reason why patience is essential for self-discipline is that it helps you maintain focus on your long-term goals. In the age of instant gratification, it's easy to get distracted by short-term rewards that derail your progress. But when you practice patience, you remind yourself that the bigger picture is what truly matters. You learn to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. As Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This quote is a reminder to stay present, to value the time we have, and to recognize that the small steps we take today lead to larger progress tomorrow. Patience allows you to stay committed to the long-term process, knowing that true success doesn't happen overnight, but through the accumulation of consistent effort. One important practice that can help cultivate patience is to regularly remind yourself of your purpose. When you know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to stay patient with the process. Ask yourself, what am I working towards? Why is this important to me? When you have a clear purpose, it anchors you through the ups and downs. This purpose acts as a guide, helping you stay focused on the end goal when things get difficult. The Stoics believed that having a strong sense of purpose was essential for maintaining discipline. They understood that life would present many challenges, but with a clear sense of purpose, you could endure anything, and the same is true for you. When you remember why you're pursuing your goals, the patience to keep moving forward becomes easier. So, the next time you feel impatient with your progress, remember that building self-discipline is a long-term process. It's a journey that requires persistence, commitment, and, most importantly, patience. Every small step you take today, no matter how insignificant it may seem, is a part of your bigger picture. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your self-discipline be. But with each day you stay committed to the process, you'll be one step closer to mastering the art of self-discipline. And before you know it, those small, consistent actions will lead to the transformation you've been working for. So, take a deep breath, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Patience will be your greatest ally on this journey. Remember, self-discipline is not about perfection, it's about progress, one step at a time. Every choice you make, every small effort you put in, is shaping the life you want to create. Stay patient, stay focused, and trust that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out one of the suggested videos on the screen. Your path to greater discipline and inner peace is just a click away. Keep moving forward.